Just briefly, obviously we're pleased with the class. It's pretty balanced between offense and defense. A lot of hard work, a lot of hours went into this, a lot of building, significant relationships with the recruits as well as their parents and high school coaches. I'm pretty proud, for 12 years we've had, for the most part, very little drama on signing day. The relationships and the kids that we have developed and the process we have, it's been pretty smooth from that perspective. So I'm pleased with that. But overall, we got 10 guys coming in terms of early enrollees. We're pretty balanced across the board, positionally. Excited about, the guys that we're bringing in. Obviously, they have different rankings and ratings depending on who you're talking to, but the type of young men that we've been able to recruit, both as athletes, both with the types of body types that we're looking for in terms of growth potential, athleticism, speed. A number of these guys came to camp. I think we had 17 of them in some form of a camp with us. Overall, we're very, very pleased. The early enrollee thing continues to grow for us, which I think is a positive when the situation fits the family in the high school. Overall, we're excited about it. Obviously, we still have another signing period, and then we also have some transfer portal possibilities as well. But that's kind of where we're at. So appreciate you guys jumping on and covering Penn State football. Look forward to answering questions, hopefully about the recruiting process and signing day.
Start with Ryan Snyder from Blue White Illustrated, then Mark Brennan.
Thanks, James. You hear me?
I can now.
Awesome. You signed two really good quarterbacks in this class, Boker Bueller and Drew Aller. They're a little different in some ways, both really good athletes, but they bring different things to the table. What do they, what did you guys see through the evaluation process between the two? And then also just how important is it to have Sean Clifford, set the tone for those guys moving forward?
Yeah, I think Sean's a big part of this, right? And we didn't know that for sure. I think Sean does as good as any quarterback I've been around in college in terms of how to prepare, how to watch film, how he studies the game and studies defenses. So I think that's going to be really valuable for these two quarterbacks. I think, obviously also with Vayu's experience that he was able to gain last year, I think we're in a healthy position at the quarterback spot. With those two guys, I'm really proud of both of them and how they handled, the situation, throughout the entire process. You look at in-state with Bo Prabula. He comes from a football family. His dad played at Shippensburg. Brother's a quarterback at Delaware. Unbelievable student. Really had a unbelievable senior year. You look at the numbers he was able to put up and the wins that they were able to have this year. It was a special year. He made plays with his feet. He made plays with his arm. His touchdown to interception ratio was fantastic. His completion percentage was fantastic. Coach Janchek over there did an unbelievable job with him. So, and just really kind of how he handled this whole process. He never wavered. I think he really embraces competition. And I couldn't be more excited about him and more proud. And then obviously, Drew Aller, comes in, really when we were recruiting him early on, we felt like obviously, we signed two of the better quarterbacks in all of college football this year in terms of signing classes. Drew's a guy that kind of did it kind of old school. He, as he went to camps and as he played in the season, he just continued to do well, and his rankings, continued to rise, and people were really impressed with him. Big kid who can stand in the pocket and deliver the ball. I think people underestimated his athleticism as well. Does a great job, making some of the plays that maybe aren't in the playbook in terms of extending plays and off balance throws with unbelievable accuracy and and playmaking ability. Was able to make some plays with his feet too. So another kid that just handled the process extremely well, is embracing the competition, and excited about the future. Both have been, real big time leaders in the class as well. I think there's probably more similarities with them than there are differences, but there are some. Obviously Alar's a little bit bigger. I'd say Prabula maybe a little bit more athletic. I think both of them have a lot of traits and skills that you look for and desire. And I love the fact that both of them are embracing the competition.
Mark Brennan, Lions 247 with Fight on State, then Rich Scarcella.
Thanks for your time as always, James.
You too, Mark.
Hey, James, you were able to bring this in for a smooth landing despite what you call noise that was out there during the season, and then a key coaching change after the season. How did you guys manage to do that, and what does it say about the kids in this class that nobody really seemed to blink?
Well, I think for the first thing, Mark, as you know, and I tried to communicate with you guys and be as transparent as I could, the whole time is there was a lot of communication going on, with our current team. There was a lot of communication going on with the recruits and parents, so they, I think, felt informed and weren't shocked by anything. And we were able to, really able to ride that out. A season that saw some unbelievable highs and some challenges as well. And nobody really blinked. I love the character in this class as much as the athleticism. When you see all types of drama right now in college football and recruiting, we haven't had a whole lot of that. So I'm very appreciative and thankful for that. And then obviously losing Brent Pry, as you guys know, Virginia Tech got a great one. I'm really happy for Brent. Actually, his wife was at our signing day today. She's still part of our family and is here in town. It was great to see her. But losing Brent, both personally and professionally, was a big one. Guy's been with me for 12 years. We've known each other for 30 years. Being able to go out and hire, somebody like Manny Diaz, who has a similar philosophy. We've shared ideas on the defensive side of the ball together for a number of years. So I think that helps. Obviously, a proven defensive coordinator with a successful track record to back it up, and then obviously the head coach experience is going to be valuable as well. So even through that process, I've been communicating with our team as well as recruits coming in that we were going to get somebody really good, but we were also going to get somebody who had similar philosophy, and we've been able to do that. So far so good. Appreciate it, Mark.
Rich Scarcella, Reading Eagle, and then Ben Jones.
Good afternoon, James. How are you?
Good, Rich. How are you, buddy?
I'm great, thank you. You knew this was coming. I got to ask you about Nick Singleton and Katron coming in. What do you like most about those two running backs? Is there potential for them to be on the field next year?
Yeah, really every guy we recruit with the mentality that they're going to come in and play. Obviously, the higher they're regarded, the fact that he's coming in at mid-semester, both of these guys, they help with that. They still got to go out and earn the job and things like that. But obviously both of them have a, really impressive background. And obviously being here at mid-semester, those things help. So, we'll see how that plays out. It's interesting because it's like, you look at Katron and it has a different style. He's a physical guy. He's going to punish you. Has been as big as 225 pounds. I think he's about 215 right now, but has been as big as 225 pounds. But it's funny because people talk about like it's almost like thunder and lightning, and that Nick is like this undersized scat back. I mean, Nick's 215 pounds, and has the ability to go 80. Obviously, both of them, I don't know if there's a better, running back class signed in the country. And obviously Nick being named than Gatorade National Player of the Year is pretty cool. And we got really good history, as you know, with keeping running backs in the state of Pennsylvania, and those guys playing well, obviously with Saquon and Miles, and so on and so forth. So, we'll see how it plays out. We're super excited about getting them. we got a lot of work to do between now and then, but it should be exciting. And I know you'll have a lot of fun covering it.
Ben Jones, statecollege.com, then Daniel Gallen.
Hey, James, how's it going?
Good, Ben. How are you?
Good. The kind of quarterback that people think Drew can become and the kind of success that you want to have at Penn State, these things are related. And because of that, it seems hard to talk about him like he's just another freshman, because he's not really. I mean, he is, but the importance that he could have for the program is somewhat obvious so far. How do you balance that with your own process of developing quarterbacks, giving not everyone a fair shake necessarily, but, seeing how this works out, and what does his next 12 months look like?
Yeah, I think, we all realize, whether it's high school, college, or the NFL, having a difference maker at the quarterback position, and what that's able to do. You talk about franchise quarterbacks in the NFL. You look around college football and you look at the programs that have been able to compete at the highest level, they've had difference makers at the quarterback position. So obviously, when you recruit quarterbacks in this class like we have, and they're highly regarded, very similar to how we were just talking about Nick Singleton, it's a little bit different. And I understand that, and I get that. Obviously, we're excited about what we're going to be able to do moving forward, and they're going to play a big role in that. But I understand your point. In this sport and at that position, obviously it carries a lot of weight. Like a pitcher in baseball that can dominate games, quarterbacks have the ability to do that as well. And I think college football has probably become even more quarterback centric than maybe it was 10, 15 years ago. The NFL's been like that for a long time. So, what I want to try to do is support Drew as much as we possibly can, and Bo, throughout this entire process. I think Sean coming back helps, because I think we want to find that fine line of how do we get these guys ready and develop them, but also not put too much pressure on them that comes with the type of rankings and ratings that he has.
Daniel Gallen, Penn Live, then Audrey Snyder.
Good afternoon, James. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Looking through at least one site's rankings, this is the most, highly ranked guys from the state of Pennsylvania that you've been able to get on signing day in a couple of years, I think dating back to around 2018. What do you make of your approach to in-state recruiting this year, and how, just what do you think about your guys' ability to get this many guys to stay home in this class?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. I think when you're signing a little bit of a bigger class, that allows you to maybe offer and get involved with guys earlier. I think you also have to look at it. It's really about percentage, right? And I think you have to look, what were the number of 4- and 5-star recruits in some of those other years coming out of the state as well. You look at the Northeast in general, we've talked about this before, the population has gone down, the number of Division I recruits has gone down really in the Northeast. But it's something from my very first press conference when I walked in here was about keeping the best players in the state of Pennsylvania home. We've worked very hard at that. And this year, really showed that. I think obviously when we knew we were going to sign a class of around 25, that helps. That helps when you have a smaller class, and you can't throw out as many offers just based on your numbers, what you're going to take. That impacts it as well, or whether it's a position in need. All those things kind of factor into it. So we're very pleased with the success that we had, this year in the state of Pennsylvania. The state of Pennsylvania is always going to be a priority for us with the high school coaches and the prospects that we have here. We got to do great in the region as well. And then I think this class, we've also done a pretty good job of going out national and getting some high profile players from out of our normal footprint too, which has been great. So, I think this is really kind of how we would like to build it every single year. And I think it's a good spread by position and offense and defense as well.
Audrey Snyder, The Athletic, then Tyler Donahue.
Hey, James, good afternoon.
Good. How are you, Audrey?
I'm good, thank you. You guys introduced Flowers and Driver today, both as defensive backs. I guess why do you feel that way for both of those guys right now? And what kind of versatility do those two bring in particular?
Yeah, and I would say this for a lot of our guys. We talked about this. We want to recruit as many guys as we possibly can that you look at and you say, you know what? I think these guys could play either side of the ball. The guys that we're recruiting should have that type of ability. I think the more DBs that we can recruit that have wide receiver skill sets, the better we're going to be, creating turnovers and big plays on the defensive side of the ball. The more wideouts that we can recruit that have a defensive mindset and mentality and are physical and tough, the better we're going to be. You look at Kaden Saunders. I think you could make an argument he could play corner here. I think with the two guys that you just talked about, Mackay and who was the other one you mentioned? I'm sorry. Mackay and Driver, excuse me. I think you can make arguments both ways, and we've had conversations with both of them about that. There's still flexibility there that exists, and you never know what the future holds. But we just feel like that side of the ball, we initially offered Driver as a defensive back. Then he felt like he wanted to play wide out. And then, about halfway through the season, texted and said, hey, I'll trust the coaches and I'm open to playing anything and would be excited about playing defensive back. And then Mackay, we've had an opportunity to see him in 7-on-7 and some camps as well. As interesting at the home visit last week. Sat down with mom and dad asked the same question. So, we want as many defensive backs with ball skills and length as we possibly can find. And I think these two guys fit those characteristics perfectly. So excited about their future and what they're going to do. But I think you could see those guys doing other things too, returning kicks, returning punts, and maybe even, playing some wide receiver down the road too.
Tyler Donahue, Lions 247. Elton Hayes is next.
Hey, James. Happy signing day.
You as well, Tyler.
If I could bring up Kaden Saunders, who you just mentioned there, he committed to you really early on in the process, ended up getting a lot of interest across the country and shut it down with you before visits took place. What did his loyalty mean to this class? And ultimately, what kind of a receiver playmaker are you getting in Kaden?
Yeah, I think he was the first commitment in the class. We talked about that today over Zoom with the family, mom, dad, grandparents. Have been phenomenal, and he was a leader in the class early on. We've been recruiting him for a long time. I think Terry Smith actually was the coach that started us getting involved. With the young man and his family and his high school coach. And then they committed and never wavered, and did a great job recruiting other guys, to come with them. Obviously blew up when he got on the camp scene, came to one of our camps and dominated that as well. And mom and dad have been phenomenal. We had a great home visit last week. Just tremendous character, tremendous playmaking ability. Kind of reminds me of a combination between maybe KJ and Jahan. Jahan did a great job today, talking to him over Zoom at the signing day ceremony and talking about how he wants him to come in and have a great career here and break all of his records. So, from a cultural standpoint, it was great to see Jahan do that. And, I know he's really excited about coming, and Caden's really excited about coming, and obviously coming in at mid-semester, that helps too.
Elton Hayes, CNHI Pennsylvania, then Joe Giuliano.
Hey, James, how are you doing?
Hey, Elton, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well, thank you. Hey, James, you mentioned going outside the footprint nationally to get some players this cycle. One of those places was Texas, bringing in two guys in Christian and Omari. How significant is it to have a presence in a state that is so, I guess, talented as Texas when it comes to producing athletes?
Yeah, I think it's really important. We kind of talked about that. We talk about the number of 4- and 5-star recruits, in our state, as well as surrounding states. And then you compare that to states like Texas, Florida, California, Georgia, the number of 4- and 5-star recruits there, and the opportunity to be able to kind of spread our wings and get into some of these areas, I think is really important. Really two very different situations. And one of the things I'm really proud of, and, I think speaks volumes about the relationships that the coaching staff has been able to build, and how significant those relationships are. As a guy like Donald Driver, who I coached with the Green Bay Packers, and it was really surreal today. And we all got emotional. Mom and Dad got emotional talking about that. The fact that they feel strongly enough to trust their son, to not, go down the street, but go far away and come to Penn State and play for me and be able to coach dad and now son, is really special. And obviously that was the connection there, that we were able to get involved in that process very early on. We had to work on mom. Mom wanted them a little bit closer to home and at some schools that you would be familiar with. But once we were able to get them all on campus, I think everybody felt like it made sense. And then obviously, the other one that we're talking about in Omari, that was a very different situation. We feel like, we needed to have a really strong recruiting class at the wide receiver position and get some speed and some size in here. And, Omari was playing quarterback, so you really didn't get to evaluate him as a wide receiver. And he came to camp and had one of the more impressive workouts that we've seen in terms of his 40, in terms of his broad jump, vertical jump, triple broad, pro agility, and caught the ball extremely well. Did not drop a ball in our workout. And, it's interesting because he's playing out of position in high school. I don't think people understand what we got there. But based on the in-person workout we had, special. So that was a different situation. Here's a young man that really came to work out for us outside of the footprint. There was no real connections there. The only thing is he lives with mom in Texas, but his father, who was involved in the process, does live in Ohio. So I think that helped a little bit, but overall, it's going to be important for us. We're not going to make a living in California, or Texas or places like that, but we would love to be able to go get a couple a year, real high character, great students that are great fits here at Penn State. And I think, we got a strong enough national brand, to be able to do that.
Joe Giuliano, Philadelphia Inquirer, then John Sauber.
Hello, James. How are you?
Good. Joe, how are you, buddy?
Good, thank you. It's been a few years since I've been able to ask you about kids from the city of Philadelphia signing with you guys. I spoke with Coach Johnson of Imatep a couple of weeks ago, and he said he had some good conversations with you about to improve the communications and listening to his concerns about you recruiting Philadelphia city kids. And I wondered how you felt about that, and how happy are you to have signed 3 kids today?
Yeah, it's always been something that's been really important to us. I think one of the things we did, which has helped, is we moved Terry Smith there. Obviously Terry was handling Western PA. Obviously he spent time at Temple and is familiar with the city, and I thought that was an important move for us, and I think that helped. Obviously the other thing was hiring Deion Barnes, who came back to us, former Philadelphia player who came to Penn State and had a bunch of success and had some time in the NFL and was coaching in high school, and now is able to come back and be a graduate assistant for us and get his master's degree. And I think he's got a really bright future as a college coach. That helped as well. We've had some players out of Philadelphia that have come and been really successful. We've had some players that we wanted to get but weren't able, to be able to get them here for one reason or another. But obviously, being able to recruit the entire state is critical to our success. And if you look at the number of players coming out of the state every single year, Philadelphia has really grown. I think the coaches are doing a great job there. There's some really strong high school programs. Imatep obviously is one that's a great example of that in terms of being highly successful on the field, doing a great job of coaching these guys. And then also, they've had a large number of Division I prospects that have been able to go on and be successful. So it's something that's really important to us. And I think I grew up just outside of Northeast Philadelphia, so it's something that's very, very important to me as well. And we want to continue to do a great job there.
John Sauber, Center Daily Times, then Mark Wogenrich.
Hey, James, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good, thanks. Are there any needs that you guys didn't address that you want to address moving forward? I know with the second signing day coming up, and if so, what are they?
Yeah, so whether it's the second signing day or whether it's the transfer portal, I think we have some interest, depending on how some things play out. But I think we have a need on the offensive line. I think we would be interested in a wide receiver. And then if you talk about on the defensive side of the ball, a defensive end, possibly a defensive tackle based on some things that could happen on our roster. And then obviously, we're losing some big time linebackers. So linebacker, D-line on the defensive side of the ball, and then on offensive line, and then, possibly wide receiver. So, we'll see how that plays out, whether it's the second signing day or whether it's the transfer portal. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of moving parts right now. And one of the things we want to make sure that we're doing a good job, specifically in the transfer portal, is that we do our homework, that we talk to the previous school, that we talk to the high school coaches, all the same process that we would do, with recruiting kids out of high school. The challenge a little bit is a lot of these guys that are entering the portal, they already know where they're going before they enter the portal. And that makes it challenging. A lot of times the guys that we want, it's over before it really starts, which is a whole nother conversation.
Mark Wogenrich, SI.com, then Mike Gross.
Hi, James. You got me?
Hey, Mark. Yeah, I got you, buddy.
Good. How did you approach with players and their families the opportunities for NIL prospects, whatever they may be, with the program or outside it?
Yeah, NIL is something that we've been pushing hard with, really since this became an opportunity in college football. It's something that I think as a university, and specifically an athletic department, that I think we're going to have to be a lot more aggressive in. Obviously, there are things that you can do as a university and as an athletic department, as coaches, and there's things that you can't do. But this is an area that I think we're all seeing every single day is a major factor in the recruitment process, as well as the current players on your team. So it's something that we need to be bold and aggressive in. And it's something that I think is going to be very, very important, not only today, but moving forward. So it's something that we're going to have to be bold and aggressive in, and make some strategic moves and commit to doing it.
We have time for two more questions. Mike Gross, LMP Newspapers, and then Greg Pickle.
Good afternoon, James. How are you?
Good afternoon.
This is a little bit of a parochial thing, but my understanding is that Brent Pry was his geographic recruiting responsibility was District 3 and our area. So have you decided who will take over that, or are you going to shuffle the deck at all in terms of your staff and their geographic areas?
Yeah, good question. So a couple things. We'll wait till we get through this bowl game and a signing period to kind of go through that in detail, and make sure that we have the entire state covered. We put every single one of our coaches has a section of the state to make sure we're doing a great job of being thorough and detailed. On top of that, we recruit by position as well. So really, we want all these recruits to feel like they're being recruited by the area coach, they're being recruited by the position coach, they're also being recruited by the coordinator, and by the head coach. So, it's not like if we don't decide right away, there's going to be a void, because it should be getting covered one way or another. But your point is a good one. We'll sit down, once we get through this, completed recruiting season, as well as the bowl game, and make sure that we have it divvied up. Obviously, the other thing we do is with the coordinators, they have a little bit less on their plate. than maybe the other position coaches do when it comes to recruiting. They're still heavily involved. They still have areas that they're responsible for, but their area may be a little bit smaller. So we'll look at all that, see what makes sense. I know Manny's looking forward to jumping in with both feet, but we just got to make sure once we divvy this up again and look at it, what makes the most sense to be able to play to our strengths based on our coaching staff's history and backgrounds.
Final question to Greg Pickle, Blue 8 Illustrated.
Coach, thanks for your time today.
You as well, Greg.
Just curious about two guys on the defensive side of the ball, the importance of them joining your class, Denai Dennis Sutton, and what was that recruitment like for you guys? And then KJ, Kevin Winston as well.
Yeah, so two guys, obviously from Maryland. Denai, we've had a bunch of success with his high school, as you know, so I think there's history there. There's trust there. Really, all of those guys have come here and thrived. So I think that helps. Those guys end up going back and helping us recruit. And I think the parents are aware that these guys are coming here and getting a great education and playing big-time football. Denai's a guy, obviously, that was highly recruited. Really could have went anywhere in the country. Obviously, not only going to high school in Maryland, but he's from Delaware. We got a bunch of success, recruiting the state of Delaware as well, if you look at our history. But he's also a guy that, you look at his film and also his measurables, is the guy that you sit here and say, you could pencil him in as a guy that's going to have an opportunity to compete, even though he's not coming in at mid-semester. He's 6'5", he's 255 pounds, he's physical against the run, he can rush the passer, so he's not like an undersized defensive end that you're going to have to develop over time. He's got the ability to come in and compete from day one, and I think that's going to be his mentality and approach. He's also a very mature young man. You go to that high school, McDonough High School, everybody is raving about him. So that's Denai. And then when you talk about KJ or Kevin Winston, DeMatha High School, I've been recruiting DeMatha High School and Coach McGregor, seems like forever. We've had a bunch of success, obviously, with young men from there as well. Two high school programs that do a great job of coaching these guys about the game and techniques and fundamentals. I think KJ, may have been all met in terms of the player of the year in the DMV. And a guy that not only was able to impact the game on defense, but was able to impact the game on offense, has the length that we think can play safety. We think he could also play the star, the nickel corner position. And there's part of me that would like to start him at corner to see if he could do that. The more guys that we have with those type of bodies that can play on the perimeter and not only make plays with their athleticism, but also their length, I think there's tremendous value in that. So two great guys from two great programs. That I think will have a chance to come in and compete as true freshmen, and we're expecting them to. Neither one of them are early enrollees. I wish they were, but the way their schools are structured and set up, that wasn't going to be an option. But I think they'll hit the ground running.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Thanks, guys.